Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Your Arms to Israel, International Ministries, and our studio. It's wonderful to have you with us this week, ready to join us in the Nazarene Yisraelite truth of the latter-day gathering and restoration of both houses of Yisrael. There really is no other message in Scripture. It is a message of Yahshua gathering the nations, turning them from the ways of their pagan ancestors, leaving their Western Gentile mindset behind, because it is written in Yirmiyahu chapter 16 that in the latter days all men will come from the ends of the earth, saying, truly we have inherited only lies, only vanity, and only falsehood. And in the latter days men will acknowledge their pagan foundation, and will say, in that day, Jeremiah 16, Yirmiyahu says that they shall know, the nations, they shall know that I am Yahweh Elohim. And so that's what we're all about, this Your Arms to Israel International Ministries Shabbat Video Club. We're honored to have you with us. We're honored that you've taken the time to be with us. And please feel free to share these wonderful messages that are anointed and pinpointedly, accurately guided by the Ruach HaKodesh. And as you stay with us through the months and through the weeks, you will see your most kadosh emunah, faith, being built up in the truth of the commonwealth. That's right, the commonwealth of Israel. Yahweh wants you and I to be equal heirs, equal partakers, equal citizens, drinking of that same commonwealth, because Yeshua is king of Yisrael, and certainly not of a separate non-Yisraelite entity. And so sit back and again, make yourselves at home and be comfortable with us, and we'll go right now, immediately, into today's special Shabbat service. Shabbat Shalom. That's what I thought you meant. Devarim 29, yes, that's right. A double portion of Torah. Devarim 29. So this Thursday we're all going to be here on time for Yom Teruah. On time. I am one of the few, and I'm not glorying, I'm telling you a fact. I am one of the few leaders who schedules the Moadim on the day they fall. Not on the nearest Shabbat, because nobody will show up. A lot of Messianic congregations, they don't celebrate the day on the correct day because they're afraid nobody will show up because they're going to work. If you're going to work this Thursday, please make sure you see me. Because you're in sin. S-I-N. Sin. You know there's a lot of Messianic leaders that do that. They schedule the feast based on the nearest Shabbat. That's absurd. For that, Yahweh will visit your firstborn. Not for trying to follow it and being deceived by other outside sources. Are we on? Devarim 29. Let's go to verse number 9. Devarim 29. I'll be preaching for approximately 5.31 hours today.
That's not enough.
A message entitled Covenant Renewal. Covenant Renewal. This week's Parsha opens with a covenant between Yahweh and Bnei Yisrael as they're about to enter the land. The word says the following. Devarim 29:9. Keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them. The church says, no, read the words of the covenant and look for typologies and types of Christ. This is a type of Christ, that's a type of Christ, this is a type of... Don't do anything. Don't live the Torah. Don't live the word. Don't perform the word. Don't be faithful to the word, but just look for types of Christ. Hello? So everywhere in that system, when they read the Torah, it's not like you and me to get our lives in line with Yahweh. They read the Torah to look for types and pictures of Yeshua. I'm tired of looking for types and pictures. I want to taste and drink of the living water. I could buy a picture of Woolworths if they don't go out of business. I don't need to read my Bible to look for a picture. Hello? If I want a picture, I can go to Walgreens. And even when I get the pictures, they don't stay on straight. Well, brother, yes, I'm born again, and I'm reading my Bible because I'm looking for pictures of Christ. Sweetheart, please don't come to my congregation. I'm looking for folks who want to be doers of the word, not hearers only, thereby deceiving themselves. If you want to be a doer of the word, come on by. We'll feed you on Yom Teruah. I think. Keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them. What a radical Yahweh. Wow, man. Do them? You mean Yahweh cut a covenant with us through Mashiach and the blood of Mashiach so that we would get to do them and get the blessings? What a radical Father. So that you may prosper in all that you do. Whoa. You stand. See, that's why the Messianic Judaism doesn't want you Ephraimites keeping Torah, because they want all the blessings for themselves. That's it. They know that if you keep Torah, you'll get the blessings. They don't. So rather than have you prosper, they want to keep you subjected as saved, lucky to be saved Gentiles. Verse 10. You stand this day. What day? This day. All of you before Yahweh your Elohim. Your captains of your tribes, your Zechanim, your officers, with all the men of Israel, your little ones, and put your wives in a cabinet, and put your children in a day camp, because they're not mature enough to hear the word. So put them in a special children's class. Is that what it says? No, the children were there. I like Rabbi Ashbeth's philosophy. If they're old enough, if they learn how to curse from you, they ought to be old enough to sit in the service and learn and study the Torah. I'm not sold anymore on children's classes. I'm going to keep it going because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And I'm not really sold on it anymore. If they're old enough to curse and learn bad things from their parents, they ought to be old enough to hear the good things and be with the wives and the husbands. I don't see Yahweh sending, when you come to renew the covenant before you enter the land, go send your children elsewhere. I don't see that. Maybe we learn that from a different system.
Uh-oh, now you preaching.
You stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your Elohim, your Zechanim, your officers, with all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and your Gerim that are in your camp, from the cutter of your wood and the drawer of your water. That you should enter into the covenant, circle those words, enter into the covenant with Yahweh your Elohim and into his oath, which Yahweh your Elohim makes with you this day, that he may establish you today for a people to himself, and that he may be to you as an Elohim. Amen. So he is talking to a new generation of Israel, because what happened to the prior generation? They died where? They died in the wilderness of sin.
Yes.
Every pun intended. So they died there and they couldn't enter the promised land. So Yahweh here, for the third time, renews the Torah. Again, this message, covenant renewal.
Covenant renewal.
Covenant renewal. Yahweh, for the third time, renews the covenant. The first time was when he cut the covenant with Avraham ben Haftarim. Write it down. Ben, between, Haftarim, the pieces. In Bereshit 15. We find that in Bereshit 15. Let's go there quickly. I'm afraid I'm going to have too much to cover, and I don't want to get sidetracked. So that about Bereshit 15. Verse number 1. Verse number 1. New. Nope, I did not have the scripture written down. Did not have this written down.
18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there it is. I was right. Sometimes I got to trust my instincts. Bereshit 15. All right, 17. It came to pass that when the sun went down, thank you, that when the sun went down and it was dark, you see a smoking furnace and a burning lamp. What do we call that? The Shekhinah, the burning lamp, the smoking furnace, passed between those pieces. Okay? What pieces? Now we go back earlier to verse 9. Yahweh said, take a heifer, 3 years old, a female goat, 3 years old, a ram, 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Verse 10, Bereshit 15:10. Follow the word. He took for him all these and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds he divided not. When the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. When the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abraham, and see, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And so Yahweh again makes the covenant, know of a certainty, your zera will be Gerim in Mitzrayim, and I'll bring them out, and so forth, and so on. And down to 17, and when he was asleep, it came to pass, the sun went down, it was dark, and a smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed between the pieces because Abraham was asleep. Meaning this was an unconditional covenant, not dependent on Abraham being alert or awake, but dependent upon the fact that Yahweh was going to honor the seed, the zera, the offspring, and the descendants of Abraham. So Yahweh put Abraham to sleep, so the message was, this has everything to do with me and nothing to do with you. Hallelujah. It's unilateral, it's unconditional, and it's unilateral, meaning regardless of if you walk in it or not, I will honor my covenant with you. This was the first time, and then later in Bereshit, Yahweh says, I made this covenant, bein haftarim, between the pieces, because Abraham, I know Abraham, he'll keep my commandments, he'll keep my charge, and he'll command his children after him to keep my chukim and my mishpatim. Yahweh says, because I know Abraham will be faithful to teach his children the Torah, I will make this covenant with him, bein haftarim, between the pieces. So the first covenant was cut with who? Abraham. Why? Because he was a Torah keeper. We read that elsewhere. I'm not going to get into that. Because I know him, he guards my chukim and mishpatim, and he will command his household after me. So Yahweh cut the covenant of Torah with blood. With blood, with Abraham, it was the Torah covenant cut with blood. Are we on?
Lord.
This first covenant was bein haftarim, between the pieces, with Abraham Avinu. The second cutting of this covenant was where? At Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, in Shemot 24:8. Let's go there. Shemot 24 and verse 8. And Moshe took the dam and sprinkled it on the people and said, see the dam of the covenant that Yahweh has made with you concerning all these words. So at Mount Har Sinai, the covenant was renewed in a different way, right? Wrong, by the blood of Yahweh's guarantee. Both the Abrahamic covenant between the pieces and the Har Sinai covenant were both cut with blood. What does brit mean in Hebrew? Covenant. Covenant. It literally means a cutting that results in the shedding of blood. A cutting between two parties that results in the shedding of blood. Make sense? Tov. The procedure of making a brit, a covenant, is taken from the words in Hebrew, cut and pass through. Cut and pass through. What did the Shekhinah do in Bereshit 15:17? The smoke lamp and that fire, that divine presence of Yahweh called the Shekhinah, not the Shekinah, the Shekhinah, walked through the pieces when Abraham was asleep, and that was cutting in order to pass through. Just make sense? Cutting in order to pass through. Those who make a covenant set up, listen, 2 different partitions that the parties may pass between the 2 partitions. I'll say that again. He took the cows and the lambs, not the pigeons he let loose, Abraham. And Moshe killed a what? An animal.
Nope.
But he didn't just kill, they took the pieces and made the pieces into partitions or a path. The cutting of a covenant was to take the pieces and make partitions so that there would be a blood path developed through which the parties that were in covenant can both walk through.
Oh.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeshua told us of this path. Yeshua told us of this covenant which was cut ben haftarim, between the pieces. Really? Yeah, because there's nothing new in the renewed covenant. That's why it's all renewed. There was nothing new about the Torah. It was just renewed and given to a nation rather than an individual. And there's nothing new about the renewed covenant, i.e. New Testament, other than it's given to the whole world and whoever wants to respond to it. But it's the same covenant.
Hallelujah.
It's the exact same covenant.
Same.
But if it's the same covenant, it must be cut ben haftarim, between the pieces.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Well, you could say between the pieces of Yeshua's broken flesh, but I wouldn't say that. You could say that, but I wouldn't necessarily say that. Go with me to Matityahu. Mateo. Sorry about that. Matityahu. 7. Matityahu 7:12. Therefore, all things, whatever you would want that men should do to you, do also to them. For this is the Torah and the Nevi'im. Here's the Torah. Yeshua told us the Torah is. Okay? I mean, this is not the golden rule. This is the Torah renewed. And you've heard us say that's the golden rule. No, it's not. If you're looking for the golden rule, you'll find it in the same place that sells golden nuggets. This is not the golden rule. This is the Torah, the heart of the Torah. Hello? Here's what the Torah is all about. Whatever you want men to do to you, you do also to them. This is what the Torah and the Nevi'im are all about. Matthew 7:13. Enter in at the narrow gate. Well, that's not a road, Rabbi. That's a gate. Yeah, but the road takes you and I to the gate. To get to the gate, we have to travel on a road between the pieces, ben haftarim. Write it down because you're going to forget. To get to that gate, we have to travel on the road, ben haftarim, between the pieces. Because Yahweh is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If Abraham had to come through a covenant of blood, if Israel had to come through a covenant of blood, then we today also must have to come through a covenant of blood. Because narrow is the gate. Notice. Let's go back to 13. enter in at the narrow gate. This is talking about a gate.
12 gates.
For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. Many there be who go in that gate. What gate? What gate leads to destruction? The gate that teaches that the Torah is not for today, the Torah is nailed to the tree, the Torah is nailed to the cross, that it's not applicable for us today in this age. If you go in through that gate, brothers and sisters, you've been on the wrong road. You don't just wake up at that gate. You don't find yourself at that gate by accident. You've been traveling a road that takes you to that gate. That's the broad road that leads to destruction. So what's all these parables Yeshua was talking about? Big gates, small gates, broad roads, narrow roads. What's all this? What are all these metaphors, parables? Why not speak to us plainly? Yeshua said, I am. Here's the Torah. You ready for a Torah teaching? You ready for a midrash?
Bring it on.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. How do I learn to treat others the way I want to be treated?
Torah.
You got to enter in the narrow gate. But you don't wake up at the narrow gate. You've got to travel the road to the narrow gate, and that's called the straight and narrow road.
Ancient path.
Now look what Yeshua said. That's the good news. Look what Yeshua said. Further, he said in verse 13, because narrow is the gate, and narrow is the way, the road, that leads to Chaim, life. And most of your family, most of your friends, most of your relatives will never find that gate. Not because the gate isn't there, because they won't want to travel the Torah road like you and I travel.
That's right.
So if you're coming into the Nazarene Israelite movement for the first time, let me help you drink spiritual coffee now rather than later, so you're not in later for a rude awakening. Most of your family and church friends will never join you.
Now you're preaching.
They will never show up here. And they'll never show up at other congregations like this. And your brothers and your sisters back in Central America and back home in New York or Jamaica probably will never get on this road.
Come on now, Rabbi.
Those are the facts. But the good news is that Yahshua is not a respecter of persons, and that Yahshua wants everybody at that gate, the 12 gates of the New Jerusalem. But the way to get there is to walk between the pieces, not in a party of wrong, incorrect doctrine that tells you you can live any way you want to after you get saved. What Yeshua is teaching us here, brothers and sisters, is that the narrow gate is preceded by a narrow road, and the narrow road is the road between the pieces, where you will find the Shekhinah, the instructions, the ordinances, the Chukim, the Mishpatim of Abraham, of Yisrael, of Moshe Rabbeinu that was renewed on Mount Sinai. So when Yahshua talks about the straight and narrow road, Christianity goes, well, praise God, brother, you're on a straight and narrow road. Praise God. Now, what on earth does this straight and narrow road mean? Does it mean I-95 was closed and I had to take a detour? In Hebraic thought, in Hebraic understanding, what does it mean to be on the straight and narrow path? No, to walk between, yes, it does, but to walk between the pieces. Meaning to walk the walk like Abraham, to walk the walk like Moshe Rabbeinu, who laid the partitions in such a way, listen, after the slaughter of the animal and the cutting of the covenant, the cutting of the covenant, the pieces had to be laid in such a way that they would be viewed as what? Partitions. If we have two partitions that are parallel, we call that modern vernacular the curb. Both sides of the curb. Hello? So Yeshua says, on the road that I've chosen for you and the narrow gate that most of your friends back in the Caribbean and Europe and wherever, Israel, will never find, that's the road that you and I need to be on. what a mean Yahweh. No, what a loving Yahweh.
That's right.
Because he put you on the road that most will never find.
Hallelujah.
What a loving Father.
Hallelujah.
Don't worry about what about Yahweh's love for everybody. Everybody can go on the straight and narrow gate, but not everybody wants to walk the straight and narrow gate.
That's right. Come on now. Preach, Rabbi.
Before I preach, I'm going to clean.
That stick of yours is a good way to find the curve.
Come on, guys, teach now. Teach now that he's busy.
Oh, hallelujah.
Say something.
I'm doing fine.
Hallelujah, Yahweh.
I've been delivered, trust me.
All right.
There you go. I've been delivered.
Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah.
I'm learning.
Ancient man.
I can see.
Hallelujah.
So that when Yeshua said, walk on the straight and narrow, what is he talking about? He's talking about to walk on the Torah road. Walk on the Torah path. And then you'll wind up at the right gate. Remember, how much did Yeshua teach that Abba Yahweh didn't teach? Nothing. He taught everything Abba taught. If Yeshua talks about a road,